Everyone in the classroom laughed. A little boy stood up and said the most unbelievable thing. "My dog is a soldier." Even the teacher smiled awkwardly. But when that dog walked in, no one was laughing anymore. This isn't just a story about a dog. It's about a boy no one believed, a dog no one expected, and a moment that silenced an entire room. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some heroes wear uniforms and others wear fur. Grab a tissue. This one's going to stay with you for a long time. 9-year-old Aiden James wasn't loud. He wasn't the kid who raised his hand first, who cracked jokes during math class, or who dominated the playground. He wasn't the one other kids invited to birthday parties or picked first for kickball. No, Aiden was different, quiet, observant, the kind of kid who paid attention to the little things, like how a pencil rolled off a desk or how leaves rustled before the wind picked up. He liked shadows more than spotlights. Most days, you'd find him under the big oak tree during lunch, alone, not because he was forced to be, but because he chose to be. And always, sitting beside him like a silent bodyguard, was Max. Max wasn't like other dogs. He didn't jump on people, didn't wag his tail like crazy, didn't chase after tennis balls like he had nothing else on his mind. He moved like a shadow, smooth, focused, his ears always alert, his eyes always scanning. Some kids thought Max looked scary. Others were just jealous Aiden had a dog that cool. But nobody really understood Max. Nobody really tried, except Aiden. To him, Max wasn't just a dog. Max was his best friend, his guardian, and more than anything, his connection to the man who was no longer around. See, Aiden's dad, Lieutenant Mark James, used to be in the army. Not the kind that just sat behind a desk and pushed papers. The real kind. Boots on the ground, out in the field, danger around every corner kind. And Max, he was right there with him. They were partners, not just man and dog, soldier and soldier. Max had worn a vest, had his own ID tag, had been on missions, seen combat, and had scars, real ones, to prove it. But after an ambush overseas left Mark with a spinal injury, everything changed. He was discharged, came back home in a wheelchair, a soldier, broken in body, but not in spirit. And Max, he came home too, honorably retired, still alert, still loyal, still a soldier in every sense of the word. But nobody at Aiden's school knew that. Nobody even asked. It was supposed to be a regular Tuesday. Mrs. Carter had announced Career Day the week before. Parents were invited to speak. Kids were supposed to dress up, bring something that represented their dream job. Firefighter helmets, lab coats, toy stethoscopes. The room buzzed with excitement. But Aiden, he didn't bring anything flashy, just wore a plain t-shirt and jeans. And when it was his turn to speak, he stood up, quietly looked around the room, and said 5 words. "My dog is a soldier." A pause. Then laughter. Some of it was innocent, some of it was cruel, but all of it stung. A boy in the front row laughed, so hard he choked on his juice box. Another whispered, "Is he serious? Does his dog carry a gun too?" Even Mrs. Carter bit the inside of her cheek, trying not to smile. Aiden just stood there, didn't explain, didn't argue. He looked at the floor, then sat back down. And Max, waiting patiently outside the building with Aiden's mom, never knew that his name had just become a joke. You could say kids can't understand, that they don't mean harm, that it's just schoolyard teasing. But that doesn't explain how adults acted, how neighbors gave polite, skeptical nods when Aiden mentioned Max's past, how the vet didn't take notes seriously when Aiden once told him Max woke up screaming, howling in the middle of the night, as if reliving something no dog should ever see. "He's just dreaming," the vet said. Maybe fireworks scared him, but Aiden knew better. Max didn't fear noise, didn't panic over thunder, didn't flinch at sirens, because Max had heard louder, seen worse, survived things even Aiden couldn't fully imagine, only understand from the whispered stories his father shared during the nights he couldn't sleep. That night after Career Day, Aiden didn't say a word during dinner. His mom noticed, of course. She always did. But when she asked if everything was okay, he just nodded and kept pushing peas around his plate. Mark, his dad, sat across the table in silence, his wheelchair parked beside the dining chair he never used anymore. He didn't need to ask what happened. He could see it in Aiden's eyes. The same look he had seen on too many faces, soldiers returning from missions, changed, bruised on the inside. But it wasn't the laughter that bothered Aiden most. It was how easily people dismissed Max, how they looked at him like he was just a dog. They didn't know the truth, didn't care to. Every night around 2 a.m., Aiden would wake up to the same sound, a low growl, a soft whimper, then the scraping of paws against the floor. Max pacing, not like a dog who needed to go outside, like a soldier walking a post, Sometimes, Aiden would tiptoe down the hall and find him standing at the front door, rigid and still, ears up, eyes focused, as if waiting for something or someone. Other nights, Max would be in the corner, shaking, not from cold, but from something deeper, something darker. Aiden would lay next to him, wrapping his arms around Max's thick fur, whispering gently, like he imagined his dad must have done during those long nights overseas. "It's okay, Max. You're home. You're safe." Max never barked in those moments. He just rested his head on Aiden's shoulder and slowly calmed down. One weekend, while his mom was out grocery shopping and his dad was napping in the living room, Aiden quietly climbed up to the attic. It wasn't a place he went often. It smelled like old boxes, mothballs, and memories. But something had been tugging at his mind since career day. A feeling, a question. He rummaged through cardboard containers filled with dusty uniforms, yellowing photo albums, and cracked picture frames. And then he found it, a small wooden box, locked, but next to it was a set of medals, some shiny, some tarnished, each one engraved with a name, not his dad's. Max, Purple Heart, K9 Unit Medal of Bravery, Combat Operations Recognition. His heart thudded. They were real. This wasn't a story. This wasn't something he imagined. His best friend wasn't just a good boy. He was a hero. That night, Aiden asked his dad about the box. At first, Mark hesitated. His hand hovered over the lid, like it weighed 100 pounds. "Where did you find this?" he asked quietly. "The attic," Aiden whispered. "I didn't open it." Mark didn't scold him. He didn't yell. He just sighed and opened it. Inside were a few folded papers, old dog tags, a photo of Max in full tactical gear beside a much younger version of Mark, and a bullet casing. "What's that from?" Aiden asked. Mark stared at it for a long moment. "That's the one they pulled out of Max." Aiden froze. "In Afghanistan," his dad continued. "Our convoy got hit. Sniper. The shot was meant for me. Max, he pushed me down, took the bullet in the shoulder. He didn't speak for a few seconds after that. I would have died that day if it weren't for him." Aiden clenched his fists as his father told the story. Not out of anger, but frustration. Why didn't people know? Why did everyone think Max was just a pet? Why did Mrs. Carter smile like he was making up fairy tales? And more than anything, why did no one believe a quiet kid with no friends, whose only companion was a dog with more courage than half the adults in town? Aiden didn't care about being popular. Didn't care if kids made fun of his oversized hoodie or his untied shoelaces. But what he did care about was that Max's name, his story, was being erased, ignored, just because he had 4 legs. A week after career day, weird things started happening in the neighborhood. It started with a loud bang late one night. People thought it was fireworks, but Aiden knew better. Max shot up from sleep like lightning had hit him, ran to the window, growled deep in his throat, the kind of growl that makes your skin crawl, and then he barked, just once, loud, firm, focused. The next morning, the news said someone had tried breaking into a house 3 blocks away. The intruder ran off after setting off an alarm, but Aiden noticed something odd on their own porch that morning. Paw prints, large, fresh, dirt-streaked ones, leading back to the front door. But Max had never left the house. Right after that night, Aiden's world started to feel different. The quiet boy with the big imagination suddenly found himself trapped between 2 worlds, the ordinary life at school and the secret, dangerous world that Max lived in. Max wasn't just a dog anymore. He was a guardian, and someone, or something, was watching them. For days after the attempted break-in, strange things began happening around the house. Doors would be left slightly open, even though no one had touched them. Lights flickered in rooms where no one was. And Max, he was on edge, never far from Aiden's side. Neighbors whispered about weird noises late at night. One old man swore he saw shadows moving through the trees in the backyard. But every time Aiden asked his parents, they told him it was just his imagination. Kids your age see things that aren't there. But Aiden knew better. At school, Aiden's grades began to slip. His once lively drawings became dark sketches of shadowy figures and dogs with glowing eyes. He stopped talking about Max, because no one would understand, because no one believed, and worst of all, because he feared that whatever had followed Max home was dangerous, and he wasn't sure if even Max could protect him this time. Then one afternoon, a letter arrived. No stamp, no return address, just Aiden's name written in shaky handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a message that sent chills down his spine. "You don't know what you're dealing with. Keep Max close, or you'll both be lost." Aiden's hands trembled as he read it over and over. Who could have sent this? And what did they mean by lost? That night, Max refused to leave Aiden's side. He growled at every creak, every shadow. His eyes, once calm and steady, now burned with an intensity Aiden had never seen. It was as if Max knew something terrible was coming. One afternoon, when Aiden was walking Max through the woods behind their house, something caught his eye. A flash of movement, a shadow slipping between the trees. Max stiffened, his ears perked up, and then, without warning, he took off into the woods. Aiden chased after him, heart pounding. What Max led him to was something no one was supposed to see, something that explained the danger they were in, and why Max was the only one who could keep them safe. Aiden pushed through the thick underbrush, his small legs working fast to keep up with Max's powerful strides. The dog didn't just run, he moved with purpose, like a soldier on a mission. The forest grew darker, the shadows longer, and the silence heavier. Then Max stopped suddenly, right in front of an old, rusted metal door, half hidden by vines and moss. Aiden stared at it, confused. "What is this?" he whispered. Max looked up at him, his eyes sharp, almost urgent. He scratched at the door with his paw. Aiden's heart pounded. He pulled at the vines, pushing the door open. It creaked loudly, echoing through the woods. Inside was a small, dark room, filled with boxes, papers, and strange equipment. But what caught Aiden's attention was a dusty photo pinned to the wall. It was a picture of Max, but not just any Max. This was a picture of Max in uniform, wearing a special harness, the kind military dogs wear. Beside him was a man Aiden recognized instantly, his dad, Lieutenant Mark James. Aiden's fingers trembled as he touched the photo. It was a reminder of a past he barely understood. His dad had been a soldier, yes, but Max was more than a pet. He had been trained for combat missions. He had saved lives. And that room, it was a hidden military supply cache, a place where Max's old gear was stored. But why was it here? Why in the middle of the woods near their home? Suddenly, a noise behind Aiden made him spin around. A shadow moved just beyond the doorway. Someone else knew about this place. Someone who wanted to keep Max's secret buried. That someone was part of a dangerous group, people who had once been enemies of Max's unit. They wanted to find Max and bring him back for something much darker than anyone imagined. Aiden's peaceful life was over. His dog's past had caught up with him, and now it was up to Aiden and Max to face a threat that no one else could see, one that would test their bond like never before. He could run away, forget everything about Max being a soldier, pretend it was all just a story. But Aiden knew better. Max wasn't just a dog. He was family, and family deserved protection. The sun was barely rising when the quiet town woke up to a strange silence. No birds chirping, no cars honking, just an eerie stillness hanging in the air. Inside their small house, Aiden sat on the floor, Max by his side, eyes locked on the door. They both knew something was coming. The people who wanted to capture Max weren't going to wait. Aiden's heart raced. He looked down at Max, his four-legged soldier, his best friend. "You ready, Max?" he whispered. Max simply gave a low, steady bark. Suddenly, a sharp knock shattered the silence. Aiden froze. His mom called from the kitchen. Who could that be so early? Max growled low and deep, not threatening, but warning. Aiden peeked through the peephole. Two men in dark jackets stood there. One of them carried a strange device, something Aiden had never seen before. His hand shook as he realized these weren't ordinary visitors. They were here for Max. Without a second thought, Aiden grabbed Max's leash. "We have to go," he said, voice trembling but determined. Max wagged his tail briefly, a sign that he understood what was at stake. Aiden ran through the back door, into the woods where they had discovered the hidden supply room. Their plan was simple, stay hidden until they figured out what to do next. But danger was closer than they thought. The men outside wasted no time. They started searching the house. Aiden could hear them calling Max's name. His dog's past was about to catch up, and this time, it was more dangerous than ever. Max sniffed the air, ears alert. Suddenly, he bolted forward, leading Aiden through twisting paths, over roots, and under low branches. The forest echoed with the sound of footsteps behind them. His legs ached, his breath came in short gasps, but Aiden's grip on the leash never faltered. He wasn't just running for himself, he was running for Max, for the dog who had saved lives, for the soldier who now needed protection. Just when hope seemed thin, a noise broke through the trees. A group of people appeared, not enemies, but friends, veterans who recognized Max immediately. They had been waiting for this day, ready to help. Together, they set up a defensive perimeter. Max, trained and alert, took his place at the front. The men pursuing them arrived. A tense standoff began. In that moment, Max showed why he was a soldier. His body tense, eyes sharp, he barked commands, or so it seemed, to the veterans. Then, in a flash, he charged. The fight wasn't just about survival, it was about honor, about loyalty. From behind the line, Aiden watched Max fight. His dog was more than just a pet. He was a hero, a warrior, and the boy knew, no matter what happened next, his life would never be the same. The night air was thick with tension. Leaves rustled under hurried footsteps. The hunters had finally caught up. Aiden's hands trembled as he clutched Max's leash tighter, his heart pounding like a drum. Max, though, was calm like a soldier preparing for the fight. The veterans flanked Aiden and Max, standing firm like a shield. The men in dark jackets moved closer, their faces set with cold determination. Then, without warning, Max sprang forward. His powerful jaws snapped the air, his body moving with the precision of years of training. The attackers froze, caught off guard by the ferocity of a dog no one had believed was real. One of the men lunged at Max, but the dog was too fast, dodging, weaving, and retaliating with force. Aiden's breath caught as Max's growls echoed through the trees. The fight was brutal but quick. The attackers were outmatched, their plans unraveling under Max's unstoppable defense. While Max held the attackers back, Aiden's fear turned into resolve. He shouted for help, using his phone to send a message to the local authorities. His voice, though young, was strong. He knew this moment mattered. This wasn't just about proving his dog's past. It was about protecting the future, for Max, for his family, and for himself. Sirens wailed in the distance. The police arrived, surrounding the attackers. Max lowered his stance, panting but alert. Aiden collapsed to his knees, tears streaming down his face, not from pain, but from relief. For the first time, no one laughed, no one doubted. Max was a soldier. Aiden's dog was a hero. With the men in custody, Aiden finally stood up and spoke. He told the story, the missions, the dangers, the sacrifices, how Max had saved lives, including his dad's, how the military had trusted Max with their most critical tasks, how Max wasn't just a dog but a protector, a warrior with a heart. The classroom, the school, the whole town, they listened in silence. The boy who was once teased was now a storyteller, a keeper of a powerful truth. That day marked a change. Max was no longer just a dog in Aiden's eyes, or a joke in the school hallways. He became a symbol of bravery and loyalty. Aiden and Max's bond grew stronger, unshakable. And for Aiden, the proud boy with a big imagination, the impossible had finally become real. Looking at Max, Aiden whispered, "I'll never let anyone doubt you again. You're more than a dog, you're family." Max looked back, eyes shining with trust. In that moment, they both knew they had won the biggest battle of all. After that intense night, the entire town seemed to wake up to a new reality. People who had once ignored Aiden's stories now approached him with respect. Teachers who had doubted his words now asked about Max's missions. Classmates who had laughed were now quiet, some even a little ashamed. Max became a local hero, not just for his brave actions that night, but for all the years of silent service he'd given. He wasn't just a pet or a dog to them anymore. He was a living testament to courage and loyalty. For Aiden, the experience changed everything. He learned what it meant to stand up for what you believe in, even if no one else understands. He grew from a quiet boy who sat alone to a confident kid who knew his truth. Max gave him that strength. More than just protection, Max gave him a voice. They started visiting schools, telling Max's story. Kids listened wide-eyed, inspired by the idea that heroes don't always wear uniforms. You might even find one wagging their tail beside you. Max didn't just rest on his past achievements. He trained with local search and rescue teams, helping find lost hikers in the nearby woods. He was a mentor to younger dogs, a leader whose calm and discipline others admired. His medals were no longer hidden away. They were proudly displayed in a glass case at the community center, symbols of sacrifice and service. Max's story was proof that even after battlefields and dangers, life could still be full of purpose and love. The bond between Aiden and Max was unbreakable. Through every challenge, every quiet moment, and every victory, they were side by side. Aiden knew that Max had protected not just his dad, but his whole family's hope. Their story was a reminder that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes they come with 4 paws, a wagging tail, and eyes that have seen too much yet still shine with kindness. When asked what Max meant to him, Aiden said, "Max isn't just my dog. He's my hero, my friend, and the bravest soldier I know. And he's proof that sometimes the greatest warriors come with a heart full of love." If Max's story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe and see more stories that remind us how special our furry friends really are.